What happens when America's most legendary motorcycle brand prices itself into extinction? Harley-Davidson isn't just having a bad year, they're facing an existential crisis that could end their 120-year legacy. Sales are plummeting, dealerships are struggling, and an entire generation of riders is walking away. Today, we're breaking down exactly how Harley went from cultural icon to financial disaster, who's taking their place, and whether there's any path back from the brink. Let's start with the numbers, because they're brutal. Harley's global sales have been in free fall for years. In their core North American market, inventory is piling up at dealerships. Overseas markets that once provided growth are shrinking fast. The latest earnings reports show razor-thin profit margins and mounting losses. But here's what's really alarming. This isn't just a temporary downturn. Harley is losing the battle for relevance in the modern motorcycle market. While competitors innovate and adapt, Harley seems stuck in a time warp, clinging to strategies that worked decades ago but are failing spectacularly today. The company that once defined American motorcycle culture is now watching that culture move on without them, and the clock is ticking. Remember when Harley was the working person's dream bike? Those days are over. Today's Harley prices have turned the brand into a luxury item that's out of reach for most riders. Take their entry-level Nightster, it starts around $13,000 before you even walk into a dealership. But that's just the beginning. Once you factor in dealer markups, fees, and the accessories they'll pressure you to buy, you're looking at close to $18,000 for what's supposed to be their affordable option. Want a touring bike? Prepare to spend anywhere from $25,000 to $40,000. And here's the kicker. Harley dealerships are notorious for refusing to negotiate. They know some die-hard fans will pay whatever they ask. Meanwhile, you can get a high-quality motorcycle from Honda, Yamaha, or even Indian for literally half the price. These aren't inferior bikes in many cases. They're better engineered, more reliable, and packed with modern features that Harley charges extra for. This pricing strategy is committing slow-motion suicide. Every potential customer they price out is a rider who might never come back to the brand. But pricing is just part of the problem. Harley's bigger issue is cultural. They're marketing to a generation that's literally dying off while actively pushing away younger riders. For decades, Harley built its brand on exclusivity. You weren't just buying a motorcycle, you were joining a brotherhood. The leather, the attitude, the rebellious image, it all worked when baby boomers were young and looking for ways to express their individuality. But today's riders, they don't want to be forced into some rigid subculture. They don't care about biker gangs or leather vests. They want motorcycles that fit into their lives, not dictate their entire identity. Harley's response has been to double down on exclusivity. Harley-only events, Harley-only clubs, an attitude that looks down on riders of other brands. This isn't building community, it's building walls. Meanwhile, brands like Indian and BMW are doing the opposite. They're creating inclusive communities, welcoming all riders, and focusing on the joy of motorcycling rather than brand tribalism. Mixed brand motorcycle events are thriving because they celebrate riding, not logo loyalty. Younger generations value diversity and openness. When Harley markets itself like it's still 1985, complete with outdated imagery and aggressive masculinity, it's no wonder millennials and Gen Z riders are looking elsewhere. Here's where Harley's problems get really technical. While the motorcycle world has advanced dramatically, Harley is still essentially selling 1980 technology at 2024 prices. Most of their lineup still uses air-cooled engines when everyone else moved to liquid cooling years ago. Their electronics are basic when competitors offer advanced rider aids, multiple riding modes, and smartphone connectivity. Their suspension and braking systems lag behind what you can get on bikes costing half as much. Harley has tried to modernize the Revolution Max engine was actually a solid piece of engineering. But instead of making it the foundation of their future, they've only put it in a handful of models. The bulk of their lineup remains stuck in the past. Then there's the Livewire disaster. Harley's electric motorcycle was supposed to be their bold move into the future. Instead, they priced it at $30,000, completely out of reach for the young, eco-conscious riders they were trying to attract. The bike flopped so badly that Harley spun it off as a separate brand, essentially admitting failure. This pattern keeps repeating. Harley introduces something new, but they either don't commit fully or price it so high that nobody buys it. They're afraid of alienating their existing customers, but by refusing to move forward, they're losing everyone else. Here's something most people don't realize. One of Harley's biggest competitors isn't another brand, it's their own previous models. Unlike cars, which get beat up from daily use, motorcycles, especially Harleys, are often garage-kept weekend toys. This means the used market is flooded with low mileage, well-maintained bikes at a fraction of new bike prices. Why pay $30,000 for a new Road Glide when you can get a 5-year-old one with low miles for $15,000? It's essentially the same bike. Harley's design philosophy of minimal year-to-year changes, which used to be a selling point about timeless style, now works against them. This is creating a death spiral. New bike sales fund dealer networks, research and development, and future models. When customers buy used instead of new, Harley loses the revenue they need to invest in better products and competitive pricing. The irony is brutal. Harley's reputation for quality and durability is undermining their new bike sales. Their bikes last so long that riders don't need to buy new ones. While Harley struggles, their competitors are thriving. Indian Motorcycles has executed one of the most successful brand revivals in automotive history. They took everything people loved about American cruisers and modernized it: better engines, modern electronics, competitive pricing, and inclusive marketing. Indian is stealing Harley customers who are fed up with high prices and poor dealer experiences. Their Scout and Challenger models are outselling comparable Harleys in many markets. But it's not just Indian. Honda, BMW, and Yamaha are making serious inroads in segments Harley once dominated. These brands offer superior technology, better reliability, and often thousands of dollars in savings. Even more concerning for Harley, younger riders aren't brand loyal the way previous generations were. They research, compare specs, read reviews, and buy the best value. When your brand name is the only thing justifying a 50% price premium, you're in trouble. The current economic climate is making Harley's problems worse. With inflation, high interest rates, and economic uncertainty, discretionary spending on expensive toys is the first thing people cut. Financing a $25,000 motorcycle at today's interest rates means monthly payments that many middle-class riders simply can't afford. Meanwhile, competitors offer capable bikes for half the price, with more reasonable payment plans. Harley built their business model assuming customers would pay premium prices for the brand alone. That assumption is failing in an economy where value matters more than ever. So can Harley survive? It's possible, but it requires admitting their current strategy is failing and making dramatic changes. First, they need to fix their pricing. This means introducing genuinely affordable models, not just less expensive versions of expensive bikes, but bikes that compete with Honda and Yamaha on price. They also need to control their dealer network and eliminate the predatory pricing that's driving customers away. Second, they need to modernize their entire lineup, not just introduce one or two updated models. This means liquid-cooled engines across the board, modern electronics, and features that justify premium pricing. Third, they need to completely overhaul their marketing. The Rebel Outlaw image might work for some customers, but it's actively repelling others. They need to become a brand that welcomes all riders, not just those who fit a specific stereotype. Finally, they need to commit to innovation. The half-hearted attempts at electric motorcycles and adventure bikes aren't enough. They need a comprehensive strategy for competing in modern motorcycle segments. Harley-Davidson stands at a crossroads that will define not just their future, but potentially the entire American motorcycle industry. They can continue clinging to the past and watch their market share evaporate, or they can make the painful but necessary changes to compete in the modern motorcycle market. But here's what makes this situation so critical. Time is running out. Every month they delay modernization. Competitors like Indian gain more ground. Every overpriced bike that sits on a dealer lot is a customer lost to Honda or BMW. Every young rider who walks past a Harley dealership because they feel unwelcome is potentially gone forever. The harsh reality is that Harley's traditional customer base is literally aging out of motorcycling. Baby boomers who fueled their success for decades are retiring from riding, selling their bikes, or switching to smaller, more manageable motorcycles. Meanwhile, the younger riders who should be replacing them are choosing other brands entirely. This isn't just about one company's survival, it's about whether American motorcycle manufacturing will remain relevant in the global market. If Harley fails, it leaves Indian as essentially the only major American motorcycle manufacturer. That's a massive cultural and industrial loss for a country that invented the modern motorcycle industry. But there's still hope if Harley acts decisively. Companies have pulled off dramatic transformations before. Apple nearly died in the 1990s before reinventing itself as a tech innovator. Ford transformed itself from a struggling automaker to an electric vehicle leader. These turnarounds required admitting fundamental problems and making changes that initially upset traditional customers. Harley needs that same courage. They need to accept that their current approach is failing and embrace a new vision that honors their heritage while meeting modern expectations. This means affordable pricing, cutting-edge technology, inclusive marketing, and a dealer experience that makes customers feel valued rather than exploited. The irony is that Harley has all the pieces needed for success. They have incredible brand recognition, manufacturing expertise, and engineering talent. The Revolution Max engine proves they can build world-class powertrains when they commit to it. The Pan America shows they can compete in new segments. They just need the will to scale these successes across their entire operation. The next few years will determine whether we're watching the revival of an American icon or documenting its final chapter. Either way, the Harley-Davidson that emerges from this crisis, if it emerges at all, will look fundamentally different from the company we've known for decades. Think about it this way. Harley has survived world wars, the Great Depression, foreign competition, and near bankruptcy before. But those were external challenges. This time, the biggest threat comes from within, from their own resistance to change. The question isn't whether change is coming to Harley-Davidson. The question is whether they'll lead that transformation or be destroyed by their refusal to adapt. Will they choose evolution or extinction? What do you think? Can Harley overcome decades of institutional inertia to reinvent themselves for a new generation? Are you a rider who's left Harley for another brand? What would it take to bring you back? Or do you think it's too late, and we're simply watching the slow collapse of an American legend? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this analysis helpful, subscribe for more deep dives into the industries that shape our world. The motorcycle industry is changing fast, and there are more stories like this developing every day.